All right, shalom, and welcome to another Bible study that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Lithonia, Georgia. My name is Esaac ben Israel. I am the elder priest of the United Congregation of Israel, and I'm joined here with my brother Eliah. Shalom, brother.
Shalom.
All right, so we are going to get into a few things. We know that this the coverage of the Israel and Hamas issue is taking over the news right now, which kind of makes you wonder, like, what else is happening that we don't know about. Whenever something takes over, if you, it was one of those things. If you go back, it was, I think it might have been 9/11, right when 9/11 happened. Right before that, there was a representative who was dating some young girl and she came up dead or something like that. And all of this was in the news. 9/11 happened. You never heard another thing about it. So, people who have some other issues really benefit when something like this happens. So then you have to wonder if somebody really wants something else to be the focal point. They could push a lot of other things through because what's going to dominate the headlines, it's going to be the things that they want us to discuss. And it is clearly a disparity between what's heard in America and what's heard abroad. Um, you can just look at what happens, what is shown on CNN, and it is completely from the side of Israel, and it doesn't really show anything else. Matter of fact, if anybody says something else, then it is set apart as these people are traitors. And if you think back, they keep calling this Israel's 9/11, and it's interesting that that would be the term, because right after the so-called attack, that they were able to pass the Patriot Act, which many people are looking at, and it took away a whole lot of freedoms, a whole lot of liberties, things that people would not have voted for initially. But afterward, they were afraid not to vote for something called the Patriot Act right after there was this supposed attack. So that allowed the pushing through of some governmental change. Well, we spoke about in the last Bible study about how Netanyahu wanted to change the government. They fought him on the change of government. Guess what they are now not doing? They are not fighting him, and he has changed the government. He has, made a whole war cabinet. So a lot of times, if you can change the focus on something, a whole lot of other things will slide through without people, fighting about it. And by the time all of this subsides, it's going to be a done deal anyway. And you're talking about a man who it greatly benefits if there's war, because you know what they're not talking about? They're not talking about Netanyahu's corruption trial. They're not talking about sentencing him to jail. They're not talking about all of these things. Now, these are things that Israelis were talking about concerning Netanyahu. Now he's the world holiest holy war fighter. Now, they wanted to put him in jail before this. So he had to get back in power to keep from going to prison. Somehow that narrative is not being told on any station. It is quite interesting that that narrative is not showing up. And they themselves, the Israelis, were protesting his government change. Now they're in the street for something else. So that lets you know that this twist of focal point is actually a pretty big thing when it comes down to changing the mindset of people. And do understand, they know this very well. We have to back up and understand that during the whole 9/11 so-called bombing or planes flying into the building, we know that don't bring buildings straight down. We understand certain things about that. That's not possible for everything to fall straight down and no other buildings beside it be damaged if a plane went through it. So the person who benefited from that the most was I think his name was Silverstein, the man who owned every building who came down, and he was Jewish. So right after that, there was this war, right? And it wasn't even a war in the land of the people who they said was on the plane. So if this misdirection thing is you know, was effective, they would definitely know, because after all of these people lost their lives, Mr. Silverstein got 3 new buildings and a hefty payout. So we have to keep all of that in mind when we look at these issues. I was asked a question about Zephaniah chapter 2, so I'm going to start there. Zephaniah chapter 2, and we're going to start that at verse 1, because a lot of things are taking place. The nations do what they have planned, but then Yahweh allows things for his purposes. At the same time, he has to deal with us for our disobedience against him. He has to deal with us for us grabbing a hold of the gods of other nations. And after so many times, the punishment got strong enough to where he says, okay, after the punishment keeps getting longer and longer, you start forgetting what it was you were supposed to be worshiping to start with. And this, is part of what Yahweh has done to us. But at the same time, he says that whoever touches you touches the apple of his eye. He's going to recompense it unto them. So after he's done dealing with his people, he's going to also deal with those people who caused his people harm during that time. Zephaniah chapter 2, and let's start that at verse 1.
Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired. Before the decree, bring forth, before the day pass as the chaff, before the fiercer anger of Yahweh come upon you, before the day of Yahweh's anger come upon you.
Now, one of the things that causes us a problem as a people is we've been taught over and over again that God loves everybody. God's not angry with you. This is what the televangelist, the prosperity preacher, he leans on. God's not angry, that God is love. So that sounds like a really good statement, but what it does, it has completely limited what the Most High can be. Like, he can only be this one thing. He can only be love. Now, here it is. We were made in his image. We have laughter, we have anger, we have aggression, we have jealousy, we have all of these different emotions. Yet the Most High is limited to only one, love. So how he make us then? How he make us if he doesn't have but one? And then his word says, I am a very jealous Elohim. So how is it that we have allowed people to tell us that he is love and love only? What that does is that limits what we will believe. When somebody then says, okay, the Most High is dealing with this. Oh, no, God wouldn't do that. Because we've already limited him in our mind. So most of us already have this little bar that we cannot cross in thought, because we have God is love. We've heard that over and over and over for decades. God is love. It got to the point where people were saying, God is love. They say it so soft. It seems so nice. It seems so sweet, but it is programming you to limit what the Most High will and can do. Go ahead.
Seek ye Yahweh, all ye meek of the earth, which have wrought his anger,
His judgment.
his judgment, excuse me. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. It may be ye shall be hid in the day of Yahweh's anger.
You see that? Anger and judgment in the same verse. And one of the things that we try to, or that is given unto us to get away from judgment is, what do we hear at every funeral? As soon as the person dies, zip tang, they're in heaven. What does that take away? Judgment. How can they be judged if they're already in heaven and we in the funeral, they ain't even been put in the ground yet? We sitting there and they telling you how the person is looking down from heaven, and these are preachers telling the people this. Okay, now that preacher just got a gang of money though to orchestrate their funeral. Understand that the family had to go around and pass their own collection plate about 5 to 10 times to get up enough money to pay him to deliver that message, and then he delivers that message. That's called a hireling. When someone is paid to do a job, that's a hireling. Okay? The person that works at the Jiffy Lube down the street, that's a hireling. He doesn't own Jiffy Lube. He's paid to work there. So what does that mean? He has a less of a connection to what's happened there. So like if your car blow up, he's not going to be really responsible. He's hireling. He's not responsible for it. So, ultimately that's going to fall on the owner who has the insurance policy and so on and so forth. The hireling will not be responsible for that. So the hireling only needs to do immediate pleasure of what's there, boom, next. Hurry up and get to the next one. So that we have to understand that the person is being paid to do a job. That is also limiting us because we hear they're in heaven, there can't be judgment, they're already there. So when we start going back to deal with these things, you have to now fight with your flesh and your mind, because your flesh and your mind is fighting against you, saying that this can't be true. Oh, he's reading that from the Old Testament. That's the old God. Yet, go in Matthew chapter 24 and start reading the things that Yeshua is talking about. Wait a minute. Why is he talking about that in the New Testament if all of this is done away with? That's why when we hear the Old Testament read, you notice it's never read in its entirety of a chapter. See, the New Testament doesn't put forth all of these new gospels, all of these new ideas. Those are people coming up with those. And if you read a complete chapter and get a complete thought, you'll be able to figure that out. So that's why no matter if you've been going to church for 30, 40 years, you've never heard a full chapter. 40 years you've been going to church. You've never heard a full chapter, because in that chapter, it is going to tear up some other false beliefs that is being taught under the same roof. So they can't read that. They have to read 2 lines and then talk 2 hours on those 2 lines. Go ahead.
For Gaza shall be forsaken, and Ashkelon a desolation. They shall drive out Ashdod at the noonday, and Ekron shall be rooted up.
All right. And here we are, we're hearing all of these things over and over on the television right now. Gaza, Ashkelon, you may even hear Ashdod. You're all of this is coming out right now. Go ahead.
Woe unto the habitation of the sea coast, the nation of the Cherethites. The word of Yahweh is against you, O Canaan.
Now, understand, this is also where we've allowed some thought process to come in. Um, Over and over, as you've been hearing these news reports, you've been hearing the Middle East, the Middle East, the Middle East, the Middle East. The Middle East is a concocted landmass of a story for them to not say Northern Africa. Okay, it is not a place like I can put. If you notice now, cities are being like are popping up out of nowhere. What used to be one city, you look up and down the street have started their own city. Uh, um, the place where we were before, right down the street, was a little city called Pine Lake. Pine Lake was about 4 or 5 streets. They made a city out of four. Matter of fact, it was one main street. All right. So one street went through the entire city. And I'm talking a block and a half. So you literally, if you were coming over the hill to get to our old location and you got to a light, if you did 26 and that thing said 25, you were going to get a ticket if you was within that light and a half. Because after that second light, you out of the city. The other little 4 streets are to the left where that little city is. So you have all of these things popping up, and we kind of let that take us. And we have to remember when we're reading these things that Yahweh is dealing with this old setup. They try to tell us that no Africans were ever up that far on the continent. And right here, as he's talking about Gaza, he's talking about Ashkelon, then he goes to Canaan. Now, why is he going to Canaan? We have to understand that Israel was called Canaan land first. So if we're going to deal with that, we have to deal with a few things. Hold your place right there. And I want you to go to Genesis chapter 10. Now, this is going to deal with a few other things as well. So we're going to go ahead and start at verse 1. Now, we're going back to Zephaniah, but I want to create a little groundwork for what it is we're dealing with. Genesis chapter 10, and let's start at verse 1 once you get there. This is how when you have a grasp of this, when people try to pigeonhole you with certain concepts, you can break free of that in your mind with the right understanding. Genesis chapter 10, and let's start that at verse 1.
Now, these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood.
All right. So, of course, we know that there were daughters if there were sons, but the lineage follows the male. So there's no need to mention women when we're talking about lineage. It's the man that has the seed. So do not get caught up with that. That's a whole nother discussion. Shem, Ham, Japheth. All right. These three make up the sons of the earth. Go ahead.
The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Yaveh, Yavan, Tubal, Mishkash, Tiras.
All right.
And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz.
You should be able to say that. Going backward. Ashkenaz. These people pretending to be you. If it ain't nothing else, you need to practice that one right there. These people say they Ashkenazi Jews. Wait a minute. They come from the son of Japheth, them Gentiles. How you going to be? Now, this is where you have to pay attention, because whenever people don't agree, like right now, there's been the bombing of a hospital and then a bombing of a school, and people are coming out and saying this was absolutely wrong. They told these people that they needed to evacuate. Then they bombed the place where they told them to evacuate. All right. There are certain things that are supposed to be off limits. They have blocked food, water, medical supplies. They hit a hospital. I was looking at the footage. It's not like you would see one of our hospitals and you see all these nurses running around. Man, there was regular people carrying those people. You know, that's the one thing that you don't really pay attention to when you look at this hospital. You're like, what a nurse is that? It was so much. The regular people have to help bring the bodies in. Okay, so just understanding that anybody who spoke out against it was called anti-Semitic. This is what this term was being built for. So that anytime you speak against them, you're anti-Semitic. I told people I'm going to use it for everything. I mean, you don't like my car, man, you're being anti-Semitic. I mean, they use it for everything. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You have Ashkenazi Jews telling somebody else that they're anti-Semitic, which is Shem. It's Shemitic. Even the way it's said is understanding that it's European talk. See, they call it Semite instead of Shemite. If you guys remember, there's a part where they were trying to figure out if somebody was from a land, and they say Shibboleth, and they said if they can't say it, they're not from this region. So they were able to tell where they were from based on how they pronounce words. They don't say Shemite, they say Semite, anti-Semitic. That's how European says it. Interesting. All right. So then we have, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. So Ashkenaz is one of the sons of Japheth. Read verse 4. You said, no, you were at that. Yavan, the one I want out of that is Tarshish. Verse 4, and the sons of Yavan, Elisha, and Tarshish. That's going to be interesting as well. Kittim and Dodanim. Start at verse 5.
By these were the isles of the Gentiles, divided in their lands.
Wait a minute. So Ashkenaz is a Gentile. All right. This is not my belief. This is not my belief system. This is what people want to tell you. This is not any prejudice of mine. This is me reading. And you can do the same. Okay? This is not some ideology that was handed down onto me. If reading is an ideology, I guess we all have that ideology because I was given it in like kindergarten. Okay? So here's what reading tells me. Reading tell me that Ashkenaz cannot be Semitic. He cannot be Shemite because he comes from Japheth. Keep reading. And it says, these were the isles of the Gentiles. So if you have a problem with that, I get on your phone, call King James. Tell them right now, I need King James on the phone right now. Tell him you need to get King James. You need to get King James. And that's not LeBron James, by the way. But call King James, get him on the phone and tell him that you have a problem that Ashkenaz is listed as a Gentile. Go ahead.
And by these were the isles of the Gentiles, divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue.
Which is the language, by the way, not that gobbledygook stuff that they tell you that happens when the prosperity preacher laid his hand on you after you stood in $1,000 profit line. Okay, go ahead.
After their families, in their nations, and the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan.
Boy, I like the way you said that. Boy, you got in that one. Mizraim. Boy, you got in there with that one, boy. I like that. Boy, I like that. Yeah, but say that again. Say it again. Say Mizraim. Go on, man. Come on, man. Don't be shy, bro. Come on. I like that. All right. So, and the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim. All right. This is Egypt. This is upper and lower Egypt right here. Phut and Canaan. All right. So, that's why I love study Bible. Ham. I'm going to read to you what it says in study Bible. This is why, when people try to sell their own Bibles and they want Bibles that have Yahweh and Yahshua in it. No. I'm fine with that. I know the name. I don't need a full book, just so I can understand the names. Matter of fact, I see the Lord. When I read the Lord, I automatically see Yahshua. I don't even see that anymore. Why? Because I took those blinders off of my brain. Those blinders that were given unto me. When you exercise yourself in it, you don't even see that anymore. I can look at it. I don't see what everybody else sees. Now, I used to see it, but I don't see that anymore. That's what happens when you walk in something for a while. It says Ham signifies burnt or black. This name was peculiarly significant of the regions allotted to his family. To the Cushites, Ethiopians, or descendants of Cush, were allotted the hot southern regions of Asia along the shores of the Persian Gulf, Susanna of Kukistan, the sons of Canaan. Wait a minute. What? Palestine and Syria. To the sons of Mizraim, Egypt, and Libya. Here's the last part that nobody wants to hear. In Africa. Wait a minute. It even mentioned Syria. It says, wait a minute. These burnt black people, when we say Assyrian, we're not thinking about, no darkly, colored individual. That's what this is. So we have to understand. So when we go to Genesis 10 and 6, Ham is the father. He's burnt black. Cush is Ethiopian. Mizraim and Phut is Egyptian. The last son is Canaan. Now, if his dad is burnt black, his brother Ethiopian, his other brother an Egyptian, I don't think we have to try to work too hard to figure out what this last son looked like. I don't think we have to work too hard. Now, understand, Israel was called Canaan land before it became Israel. So understand who inhabited that land first. All right? Now, Hamites are not us, but they are black like us. All right? So keep reading.
And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Haval, and Sabat, and Remah, and Sabteka, and the sons of Remah, Sheba, and Dedan, and Cush begot Nimrod.
Jump down to verse 15.
And Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and
Jebusite,
the Amorite, and the Girgashite, and the Hivite, and the Archite, and Sinite, and the Avidite, and the Zemarite, and the Hamathite, and afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad. And the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon.
All right. All the times you're hearing Zidon. All right. Canaanites. The son of burnt black. Go ahead.
And borders of Canaanites were from Sidon, as thou comest to Gerar unto Gaza.
Unto Gaza. The same thing that's in the news right now. All right. So this originally had burnt black people in it to start with. Everything that we see on the news is completely different right now. And with this, also something else is happening. Although we're looking at some things, there are a whole lot of us that are getting programmed because you're seeing the images and you're hearing the name. You're hearing Palestine and you're seeing these people. You're hearing Israeli and you're seeing those people. And these images are constantly being put in your mind for a reason. You are being programmed to Except that when you see Palestine or hear it, that's the image that you're supposed to see. When you hear Israel, you're supposed to see that image in your mind. And when you're programmed good enough, you can see that image even with your eyes closed. For those who have been in the word for a while, in the truth for a while, we'll tell you that it took a minute for the image of Jesus to leave your mind. It was in there so strong I had to stop closing my eyes when I prayed, because even though I know, first of all, that it was a false representation and even a false name, that the name was never Jesus, it was Yahshua. But even when I knew the name was Yahshua, I still kept seeing the image that I was programmed with. There's some programming that's happening right now. It's on constantly, all day, every day. You change from one channel, so you go to another channel, and it's another one, and then another one, over and over and over. That's programming. Go ahead.
And unto Gaza, as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah, and Abma and Zeboim, even unto Lasha, these are the sons of Ham, after their families, after their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations.
Now, we don't have to assume anything. The very note that I read about Genesis 10 and 6, when it says Ham signifies burnt or black. All right, so we back up. Listen to the sons of Ham. It says Cush. It automatically, we know that's Ethiopians. Are they not people of color? Didn't they tell Saul, they said, are not you that Egyptian? Why did they think he was an Egyptian? Come from the family of burnt black people. So you have to, I think the same thing that happened with Moshe. Moshe is able to be amongst these Egyptians. And even when other people saw, they say, hey, this Egyptian came and did such and such. Why? Because he had on the clothes that they wear. That means he's of the same skin tone as those people. Yosef was able to hide. We're talking about one of the tribes of Israel was able to be amongst the Egyptians. And when his own brothers went over, they thought he was an Egyptian. When we first got into our new place, the people across the street said, oh yeah, those people over there, yeah, they Ethiopian. Y'all know how much we get confused. What are they looking at? They're looking at our culture. They said, all right, yeah, they black, but they don't wear what we wear. So the whole consensus is people trying to figure out, hey man, hey, what y'all is? What y'all? Hey, bro. They're trying to figure it out because they saw that we dress differently than them. Well, that's the only thing that the brothers had when they returned or went to Egypt. Saw Yosef. The only difference is he's now a man, and he has on Egyptian clothing. That's their brother. They didn't recognize their own brother. But you know, in the process of when you're younger, you know, you change a lot. You know, a 15-year-old, and you see him 15 years later, it might take you a minute to look at that individual. In 15 years, from 15, he has blossomed. He's got muscles. He's got this. He looks different. He carries himself different, and he has on Egyptian clothes. They didn't recognize him, but he recognized every last one of them. They wasn't going to change that much. They was already at their adult period. But there's a lot of change that happens in that young age. But that color stayed the same. He was able to pass as an Egyptian, even though he was an Israelite. And Israelites don't come from Ham. They come from the next line. Go ahead and read that.
Unto Shem, also the father of all the children of Eber,
Uh-huh.
the brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were the children born, the children of Shem, Elam, and Asher, and
Arphaxad,
and Lud, and Amar,
Aram.
and the children of Aram, Uz, Hul, and Gether, and Mesh, and Aphaxad begat Salah, and Salah begat Eber.
All right. So now we're getting to from Eber, we're getting ready to deal with Hebrew as we start going into this line. Now this coming out of Shem. So you think about the thing when somebody tells you you're anti-Shemitic. First of all, you need to be able to correct that statement when they say you're anti-Semitic. First of all, correct them that it's anti-Shemitic, and I'm the only Shemite standing here. And I don't remember being anti-me this morning. Go ahead.
And unto Eber was born 2 sons, and the name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Yoktan. And Yoktan begot Alamadad, and Shishphel, and Hezaremeth.
Hazarmaveth. Yeah, that's good.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah. And Iran.
All right. So as we then, come down so that we understand what these Shemites come from. So when you hear this term anti-Shemitic, you have a place to put that. So now let's go back to Zephaniah chapter 2.
Got me reading the Israel directory.
You need to do that, man. It's just it's like reading one of them family tree T-shirts when you go to the family reunion. That's all it is. See, you used to hearing, you Jubilee boy. No, they supposed to say, ain't you Methuselah's grandchild? That's the name you're supposed to be hearing. You're supposed to be hearing names like that. But because they gave us their Christian names, we think these names are strange. These names ain't strange. The one you got strange. You got so accustomed to your strange name that you think the real name's strange. No. You the one got the strange name. What's your name? That's strange. It don't sound like one of these. You got a strange name. There's a reason why they beat Kunta Kinte. You gonna accept Toby, boy? Okay. So now we think the original name is strange. That was programming. That is the effects right there. That's one of the effects of programming right there. And you have to use this and walk in it for a while, and then you get to understand, oh, I was programmed to think like this. Let's see where we stopped. At 6. All right, Zephaniah chapter 2 and start at verse 6.
In the sea coast shall be dwellings and cottages for shepherds, and folds for flocks. And the coast shall be for the remnant of the house of Judea. They shall feed thereupon. In the house of Ashkelon shall they lie down in the evening, for Yahweh their Elohim shall visit them and turn away their captivity.
Now, it's interesting that he uses this term captivity, because it's captivity. That is the way that he punishes his people Israel. He says, I have created you for my purpose. And Israel was created to be a servant. So one way or another, we're going to serve. So because that's what we were created for, you're either going to serve me or you're going to serve your enemies in your enemy's land. So first he started off making us serve our enemies in his land. That wasn't bad enough for us. So he had to spread us out all over the place and get us to serve our enemies in our enemy's land. Because this is what you were born for. You were born to be, a servant. It's like there are certain animals that are bred for certain things. All right. And excuse me, you can't take an animal that was bred for one thing and try to make it do something else. You know, I've never really heard of anybody having a really mean, aggressive attack cat. Now they might have a cat that attacks, but you know the cat will only attack when it want to. You can't train a cat, Skittle. The cat don't work like that. Cat don't really give a damn about you. All right. You gotta understand the first thing about a cat. It is letting you pet it, and when it's done, it walks away. All right, it's done. All right, I done had enough of you. Ain't no more. Ain't no training. No cat like that. Now, then you have now they have these things where you can have a service animal, and people try to get any old animal and say, this is gonna be a service animal. A pit bull is not a service animal. The only way it's gonna serve you is it gonna eat everything that come near you. All right. If it look like if somebody have a pit bull and the person shakes your hand aggressive, they might lose that hand. That's how it was bred. It was bred as a fighting animal. And if it's around other pit bulls, it's gonna automatically develop that mentality. If you're gonna change that mentality, you have to have it around something else from jump in it, but it still got that nature in it. First time something run up, it grab it by the neck and clamp down. And nobody taught their dog. All right, now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go in here, we're gonna fight this German Shepherd. Now I want you to grab him by the neck. That thing go for the neck anyway. Now who taught it to do that? That's in it. So these are things that we have to keep in our mind as we go along this process. Go ahead.
I have heard the reproach of Moab and the rivalings of the children of Ammon, whereby they have reproached my people and magnified themselves against their border. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahweh of hosts, Elohim of Israel, surely Moab shall be as Sodom, and the children of Ammon as Gomorrah, even the breeding of needles and salt pits, and the perpetual desolation, and the residue of my people shall spoil them, and the remnant of my people shall possess them. This shall they have for their pride, because they have reproached and magnified themselves against the people of Yahweh of hosts.
All right. So first thing I want to look at let's show the graphic of it should be the graphic number 1 of Gaza, Ekron. So you have these things, and this is a map during the time of 1010 BC. So you have Ashdod at the top, Ashkelon, then you have Gaza, and then you have, this is, the area of the Philistines. Now, this is where sometimes a name, people, whoever have live in that area is going to develop that name. So this is how you get to where people say, these people are this because they live there. Okay, so right now we're located in Lithonia, which is just down the street from Stone Mountain. Years ago, we couldn't be called Stone Mountonians. Why? Because right up there on that rock, they have all the Confederate war heroes carved in the side of the mountain. You know how hard that was to do? To carve General Lee in a mountain. Let me tell you something. When they carved General Lee in the mountain, they didn't never think they were going to have to move from here, right? People don't carve in the rock and think, you know what, we're going to move next week. They never thought that this area would change from the color perspective that it was at that time. So here it is down the street from us. There are Confederate war heroes, if you will, carved on a mountain. That doesn't fit. Why is that there? Because we were not here during that time. So you can't say that because we're here now, then we must have been the people who carved that in that mountain. No, we did not, because we were not the people there during that time. And that's what we have to deal with, that we understand that that's not the same people. Let's see, is this, I think this one, go to slide number 1, and I think that's going to have the definition, and it's H6430. Because of that whole thing right there, you see Philistine, right? So H6430, and this is the Brown Drivers Briggs, and it says Pelishi, Philistine, equals immigrants, an inhabitant of Philistia. So here we go. Philistine, Philistia. 2, descendants of Mizraim. Say it again. Mizraim.
Mizraim.
Oh, boy, that boy bad. Who immigrated from Captor to the western seacoast of Canaan. Blah, blah, blah. All right. So let's go. Slide number 3. Now, it has Pelishith. That's not the one that I'm looking at now. I want to see the one that ends with Palestine. I think these numbers may be a little off. Has Ephraim at the top in green. So it says Pelisheth, BDB definition, Philistia, land of sojourners. It says the general territory on the west coast of Canaan for the entire country of Palestine. So then we have Philistia or Philistines, and we have Palestine. Are y'all able to change that in the back? Because I'm not seeing it in here. All right, so not sure if you guys are just now seeing that on the internet. But it says Pelisheth, Brown, BDB, Brown Drivers Briggs, definition, Philistia, land of sojourners, west coast of Canaan, or entire country of Palestine. All right, so once again, Canaan and Palestine. So you find these things here, and automatically we believe that this must be these original individuals, because they are the ones who are there now. So go to, it should be one more graphic. This one, I think, that has 1010. We might have went out of order on it, but the one that has the 1010 BC on it, that may be number 4. Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gaza, and then it has the Philistines going up. Thank you. So when we look at this, then we see where Jerusalem is off to the top right area. All of this was inhabited by what we know as Africans. And we are being programmed by seeing these images over and over that none of that was ever the case. But your history book, the Bible, says the exact opposite. And I just want us to understand that. Now, we read some things here when it's talked about Moab and Ammon. And my elder always said those are people who call themselves Palestinians. Okay, now let's go to Genesis chapter 13. And you're going to find that Yahweh does this type of thing all the time. When he's getting ready to deal with his people or bring us onto another plateau, another level, then he has to separate us from the people who can only think on the level that we're on. So if Yahweh has us, you meet somebody and you and that person, you guys are friends. You're both on level 2 of life. Okay. You guys are the best of friends. All right. Now Yahweh needs to move you up to level 3. Now you may have some issues with the level 2 people because they can only accept you on the level that you're on. And Yahweh's, issue with that is you met them on level 2, but I got to get you to level 8. So you're going to lose a lot of individuals. Very few are going to still be able to keep their level 2 friends as they get to level 8. Because level 2 individuals do level 2 things. Level 8 individuals do level 8 things. They operate differently. So Genesis chapter 13, let's start that at verse 1.
And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold.
Now, first of all, Yahweh had to separate him from his father. Abram's father worshipped idols. Yahweh is making something for him, building his own line out of Abram. But understanding that he's a very respectful man, understanding that he has, he respects the order of life, being that his father is the head of the house as long as his father lives, even though he's a man. His father's an older man. Yahweh respects that order and does not go on the next level with Abram until the passing of his father. That way, he didn't have to disrespect his father, but he got to get away from those idols. Go ahead.
And he went on his journeys from the south, even to Bethel, onto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai.
Now, understand, Yahweh is moving way before time. He will cause you to go by a place and look at it. You don't know you looking at your place. You don't know you at your spot. You go and you say, oh man, this this is nice right here. It's nice. One day I'm gonna have me something like this. Yahweh was like, he's slow. Yeah, this yours. Matter of fact, I'm gonna have these people decorate it for you. Where you want? How far you want your Porsche to go? Okay, it's gonna be that way when you come back. Go ahead.
Unto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first, and there Abram called on the name of Yahweh, and Lot also, which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents.
Now, Lot had substance because he's with Abram. Lot does not have anything of his own. This is our issue. Even when you read later on in his book, it'll talk about Lot and it says, he vexed himself, his holy soul, by hearing the deeds of the wicked. The only thing he knew about holy was that he was around Abram. That's the holiness that he got. Yahweh wasn't trying to deal with Lot. But because he loved Abram, he wouldn't let a whole bunch happen to Lot. We don't even consider, there's some of your family, there's some people that are close to you that the only reason they are still alive because Yahweh don't want to hurt you. They not doing any kind of good on their own merit. Matter of fact, Yahweh like they rotten. Because I don't want to hear you crying. I don't feel like that today. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tell them, look, y'all don't kill him. Because I'm not ready to have to console my servant. But I know at some point I'm gonna have to do it, but I'm not ready to do it. This is why he look after Lot. It's because it was going to hurt Abram. Go ahead.
And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together.
This is the best separation I have ever seen. This is the best separation method ever. I would, you know what? We say that, but it's still ugly because this does happen to us. And I remember saying, ooh, let me be separated from my friends because I had so much. But you know what? That just happened. We get some stuff that we didn't have before, and all of a sudden we get separated from people who we thought was our friends because they couldn't handle when we moved from level 2 to level 3. That just happened, and I didn't recognize it until I just read it. He gave them so much that they couldn't be in the same place. He do the same thing to us. It normally just come out as hating, Yahweh give you something, and then the other people got a problem because they don't have it. Go ahead.
And there was a strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle and the herdmen of Lot's cattle. And the Canaanites and the Perizzite dwelt then in the land. And Abram said unto Lot, Let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we are brethren. Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me, if thou wilt take the left hand.
And now here it is. He's following what Yahweh has told him. Yahweh is leading Abram to this land. Here, Abram gives Lot the choice. You choose, and then I'll choose the other. You see why Yahweh had to separate us from those other individuals? Because here it is. He is putting setting aside some inheritance for you. He's setting aside something to give to you, and you trying to get away to somebody else. Ain't that like us? We set up a movement and everybody hijack it. Black Lives Matter is now for the gays. What? We don't have that no more? When I see a Black Lives Matter flag, I know one or two things. They gay and white. What? Because
Yeah.
no black people, every one of them, you see that flag, and then out comes the white gay person. Man, don't no black people have that. That has been, but see, this is us. We will allow anybody to come into our movement. And eventually they take over the movement. Go ahead.
If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left.
So you understand how we are as a people generally. This is just us. This is purely a mistake. This is just not the way this is supposed to be done. But this is us. And we still make the same mistakes to this day. Yahweh is the one that overrode this. He's the one that made that choice be what it was. But he clearly gives this individual an opportunity to choose. Go ahead.
And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of Yahweh, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zorah. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan.
Right, he chose the best. You see that? The humble brother says, I will let you choose. He is the one in charge. He is the one that's being directed of Elohim. Yet, he allows the other person to choose. What does that person choose? The best looking land. Go ahead.
And Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves, the one from the other. And Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom.
Now, so you have Abram dwelling in the land of Canaan, the burnt black individuals. He's living amongst these people. Go ahead.
But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before Yahweh exceedingly. And Yahweh said unto Abram, after Lot was separated from him, lift up now thine eyes, and look from the place where thou art northward, and southward, and eastward, and westward. For all the land which thou seest, To thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever.
Now, he needed to make sure that Lot was gone when he makes this statement, because Lot does not have any part in this inheritance. Now, we're going to get to why we're going here, okay? Lot does not have any part in this inheritance. This inheritance has nothing to do with him. Nothing. But he's close to it. And a lot of times when somebody close to something, they take part in what you're dealing with. And sooner or later, they take it as it's theirs, because they've been close enough to you to hear all the prophecies. They've been close enough to you to hear all the things that were said. This is why other individuals can come up and proclaim to be you. Well, you got punished by your God, and he sent you away. But I remember you telling me about your inheritance. See, I remember hearing you talk about your inheritance, and now you long gone. Well, possession is 9/10 of the law. And once they get it, you got a problem. Go ahead.
And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered.
Now, this might be something to tell. You feel very empowered if you like 25, and you always say, you know what, you gonna have so many kids. You have so many kids, you can't count. You have kids everywhere. You be like, what? Yeah, brother gonna be blessed. When he tell you that, and you like 7 to 8, this sound different when you 7 to 8, and he's talking about you gonna have so many kids. Who you talking? How? Who? You talking to me? I think you like 40 years too late or something. You talking to me? You sure you talking to me? So now what happened? Now he starts thinking. Now you understand why Yahweh was like, Lot leave. I'm finished. Because automatically, because we know the story, he then is given Hagar as a wife to have a child by Hagar, and he thinks that's going to be the seed, and it still wasn't. But if Lot was there, they would have never even asked for Hagar. Lot would have automatically been, because that his daddy took on Lot, and then he took on what his daddy took on. He took him on like he was a son. He was not. And Yahweh was clear about that. He got to go. Because what I'm going to give you is not going to fall to him. Keep reading.
Arise, walk through the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. Then Abram removed his tent and came and dwelt in the plains of Merah, which is in Hebron, and built there an altar unto Yahweh.
All right. So now I want you to jump to Genesis chapter 19. So let's go. Genesis 19 and start at verse 23.
The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zorah. Then Yahweh rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from Yahweh out of heaven.
Now, remember, he chose the land that looked the best, but inside it was the worst. This is ultimately how we, normally get in trouble. We see something from the outside and be like, yeah, that's it right there. And then you get in it and find out this is absolutely wicked. This is normally how we get ourselves in the deepest trouble. So now here comes some judgment to that wicked place, and he just happened to be in the wicked place. So Yahweh let him choose the wicked place. Now, sometimes Yahweh loves us so much that sometimes we don't understand when he's blessing us, So we look at, a car, and we say, I want that car. Yeah, no, you can't have that car. And you like, I really want that car. And you find out, you like, that the engine blew up on that car like 30 days later. Like he was not letting you get that car. Same thing happened with spouses, relationships. We like, I don't understand why it didn't work. Y'all was like, you better be glad it didn't work. I'm trying to tell you. Well, I didn't say, you know what, you owe me. You realize you in debt for Yahweh and you don't even know what you in debt for until you see, that individual later on in life and you realize what happened. So he let him choose. But Yahweh knew that land looked good physically. So when Abram said, you choose, oh, Yahweh just sat back. Well, I like the way this is going. Because he going to choose the wicked one. He's going to choose that area. And he going to be busy over there, so he won't be messing with my servant. He won't be coming looking for my servant. Keep reading.
And he overthrew those cities, and all the plain, and all the inhabitation of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt.
So you now have a separation here. Now this is presenting something. Go ahead.
And Abram got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before Yahweh, and he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when Elohim destroyed the cities of the plain, and Elohim remembered Abraham.
He's destroying Sodom and Gomorrah, but he remember who? Okay. He didn't do this for Lot. He did this for Abraham. Because I don't want you crying all over my altar and stuff. I just, so I'm going to go ahead and, protect your nephew. Go ahead.
And sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow. When he overthrew the city, the which Lot dwelt.
All right. So when he overthrew the cities where Lot dwelt, he brought Lot out because of Abraham. Okay. It is hard for people to understand sometimes that they are being delivered because they're close to you. And you know what's even more difficult for those people? When they got money, but Yahweh still protected them because of you. Some of them have more money than you, but Yahweh still protected them because of their connection to you. That throws people. Go ahead.
And Lot went up out of Zorah and dwelt in the mountain, and he and his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zorah, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth.
Now, this is one of the things that when I read the New Testament, they said, oh, this righteous man vexed his soul day to day from hearing, the wickedness of Sodom and Gomorrah. Let me tell you something. This right here don't sound too good. What we about to read right here. This right here, and I ain't never had no alcoholic beverage that can do this right here. And I hope I don't, this liquid crack, whatever it was he drunk. They had crack back in the day because this had to be crack. Go ahead and read about him drinking this liquid crack. They had Cisco back in them days. Go ahead.
Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father.
You see that boy, this right here, this definitely, this thug passion right here, this Hennessy and Alizé mix right here. There's some right this what Tupac rapped about right here. This is that thug passion because there's something seriously wrong with this situation here. I don't know what wine he drunk, but let me tell you something. I don't ever want to see it. Go ahead.
And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he preserved not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father.
Mm-hmm.
And they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not
Perceived not.
perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose.
That's something seriously wrong with this situation right here. All right. So when I read in the New Testament and it's talking about he vexed his righteous soul, that's not what. Every time I read that, I'm like, that's not what I get from that. I don't know who wrote that part because I did this right here sound interesting. Go ahead.
Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab. The same name is the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger, she also bare a son, and called his name Ben Amin. The same is the father of the children of the Ammon unto this day.
So then you have Moab and Ammon. Okay. So now we have these things here set up. And this was one of the things where my elder always talked about, these people who calling themselves the Palestinians, because you have a difference. You have Philistines who are, one group of people, but then you have them, calling this Palestine. So it's Palestinians by them living there. Like we're Georgians because we live in Georgia. Well, anybody else move here, they're gonna be called the same thing too. That don't mean they're the same people. So we have to deal with that. So now when you have these children of Lot, Moab and Ammon, then we have to look at some situations that have occurred, and then we can go back and deal with some judgment. Let me make sure we got everything out of Zephaniah. Let's go back to Zephaniah chapter 2, because there's, now that you have a reference for Moab and Ammon, I want you to back up and read something. And we're going to go Zephaniah 2 and start at verse 7.
And the coast shall be for the remnant of the house of Judea. They shall feed thereupon in the house of Ashkelon. Shall they lie down in the evening? For Yahweh their Elohim shall visit them and turn away their captivity.
Their captivity. All right. All of these people who keep saying that they are Israel, they don't have a captivity. This is why they have to own sympathy. They have to own it. They have to own sympathy all over the world. Nobody can be sympathetic to anybody else. Why? Because it needs to take your thought process off. They don't have a captivity. They can't produce one. Go ahead.
And I have heard the reproach of Moab.
Moab, wait a minute. There's a lot, children. Go ahead.
And the rivalings of the children of Ammon.
Wait a minute. There go another one. Go ahead.
Whereby they have reproached my people and magnified themselves against their border.
Wait a minute. So he's saying Moab and Ammon, the same people who Yahweh sent away from the beginning, now they close and magnified themselves against the border. Right. They fighting for some land that don't belong to them. One of them. Go ahead, bro.
You know, you was talking about when people go into the land, like the ones that's there, and they're calling them Palestinians.
Well, let me make sure y'all did turn that mic on. We got a comment here. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
You know, you talk about the people who moved in or occupied a place and they call themselves Palestinians. But correct me if I'm wrong. I've never, from 1948 till now, hear them call the people that's there Israelites. They refer to them as Israeli. So if they're the people, why are they not being referred to as Israelites or even being mentioned as Hebrews?
Well, I think our biggest clue is when they said they was Ish. Brother, we know Ish mean like. When they said, that boy's being mannish, he was a little boy who started doing manly things. Just part. He didn't get a job. He didn't get licensed. He didn't get a car, but he just did some manly things. Manly thing. He jumped in line. He said, you know what? I want to do that. No, you being mannish, right? He not being a full man. He being like one. Okay. So that's our biggest clue, that they're not really this, but they're like one. Why? Because I took on their culture. I took on their ways. And I can get to 2 Kings chapter 17 and read where all of these people from other nations came in and took on the ways of Israel, but they were not. So that is an important thing. Thank you for that, brother. Go ahead, keep reading. So they've magnified themselves against the border of Israel. Go ahead.
All right, verse 9. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, surely Moab shall be as Sodom, and the children of Ammon as Gomorrah.
Now wait a minute. Now why would he go down with Moab and Ammon? Hold on. You just like your daddy. You just like it. I'm deal with just like I'm deal with your dad. You went right to Sodom and Gomorrah. Your daddy went there. You know what I'm saying? The whole generation of your people come from there. Wait a minute. This is very interesting. Why would he go to Moab and Ammon and talk about Sodom and Gomorrah? Go ahead.
Even the breeding of needles in salt pits and the perpetual desolation, the residue of my people shall spoil them, and the remnant of my people shall possess them. This shall they have for their pride, because they have reproached them and magnified themselves against the people of Yahweh of hosts. And Yahweh will be terrible upon them, for he will famish all the gods of the earth, and men shall worship him, every one from his place, even all the isles of the heathen.
Even all the isles of the heathen. This, verse 10, this shall they have for their pride, because they have reproached and magnified themselves against the people of Yahweh of hosts. They saw an open area and seized upon it. But then somebody came stronger than them and went to fight them for the land. So now there's this huge fight going on, and it doesn't belong to either one of them. Interesting. And see, these are the little missing pieces of the puzzle that we don't have. And when we look at all of the things that are being said by the other on the television, it ends up taking our thought process and actually taking it over. Let's go to Judges chapter 3. Judges chapter 3, and let's start at verse 1.
Now these are the nations which Yahweh left to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel has had not known all the wars of Canaan. Only the generation of the children of Israel might know, to teach them war, at the least such as before knew nothing thereof, namely 5 masters of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the
Sidonians, which is Zidon. Go ahead.
And the Hivites that dwell in the mount of Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon, onto the entering in of Hamath. And they were to prove Israel by them.
They were to prove Israel by them. At this point, he says, you know what? I'm not driving all of these people out. I'm going to leave them there. So they are amongst you to prove you, to see if you're going to walk in the statutes that Yahweh has given you. But guess what happened? After being amongst you, they have learned your ways. They have learned your culture. So when you are expelled from your land, what do you think your neighbors are going to do? How long do you think if we just walk out of this building and yeah, we lock the door. You know, we turn the lights on. How long do you think if people cross the street? You know, ain't nobody came back there in months. You know, all you have to do to seize upon a land is to start working it. You know, it becomes legal precedent for that land to be yours. So then those people come in and start working it. Wait a minute. Hey, they have squatters' rights. That people who squat in a place, they can show that they've been working with it. Guess what? You can't just come in and throw them out. Now there's a whole ordeal. Now, when we did what we were supposed to do and we were away from our land, Yahweh said, when you come up to the places where I have chose to place my name there to keep the holy days, I will make sure that no man desires your land while you're gone. But that's when you gone and you doing what you're supposed to do. That don't really apply when you gone because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. Now everybody desire your land. Go ahead.
And they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of Yahweh, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moshe. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites.
Right. All of this was Canaan land. These are Africans. This is the setup. It says the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites. Canaanites, come on, we back up. What did we read? Canaan, son of Ham. Ham, burnt black. The children of Israel dwelt side by side with the Africans in the same land. What happened when Africans go to Israel now? If they even get in, they're called infiltrators. They basically have to go through roll call every couple hours, and after a while they ship them right back out. But the beginning of Israel was side by side with Africans. All Yahweh says, don't worship their God and stay away from their idol. Stay away from, don't make no covenants with them, because I'm telling you, they're going to cause you to turn against me. But we were living side by side with them. Go ahead.
And they took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their gods.
See, you see the connection. Once we intermarried, we had things that they call interfaith. What's interfaith? Then we'll deal with half of this and half of that. That was through marriage. See, that's the power of what those covenants, which is why he said in the beginning, don't you enter into any covenants with these people, because they're going to cause you to turn away from me. See, we don't understand how powerful it is when a man and a woman enter into a covenant. You got to protect your heart to make sure if that woman worships some other God, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. You have done this, and especially if a woman decides she's going to marry outside of her nation, you way past in trouble. The man in trouble. You done. He the head of the house. You married a head of the house who worships a different head. You done. We don't understand what that means. That's serious. The man has a chance. The man just has a problem of being convinced by his wife. The Israelite woman who marries outside, he ain't got to convince you. He the head of the house. He just makes a decision. Simple as that. Go ahead.
And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of Yahweh, and forgot Yahweh their Elohim, and served Balaam and the groves. Therefore the anger of Yahweh was hot against Israel, as he sold them into the hand.
He sold them. Here is the line of how you separate Israel from other individuals. People want to own empathy. They want to own all of these things. Feel sorry for me. But when you read what happens to Israel, Yahweh punishes Israel through captivity. because you were born to be a servant and you're going to be a servant one way or another. So since we wouldn't serve him, now he has caused us to serve Cushan Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia. Go ahead.
And the children of Israel served Cushan Rishathaim 8 years. And when the children of Israel cried unto Yahweh, Yahweh raised up and delivered the children of Israel.
I tried to help you out.
I
You
know.
know what
I
I'm
see.
saying?
I see you.
You know what I'm saying? I tried to help you out. I tried to save you from that one. And boy, yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's shibboleth. All right. So, jump to verse 10.
Oh, now you jump. Okay. The spirit of Yahweh came upon him, and he judged Israel and went out to war. And Yahweh delivered
Cushan Rishathaim,
king of Mesopotamia, into his hand, and his hand prevailed against Cushan Rishathaim. And the land had rest 40 years. And Othniel, the son of Kenaz, died.
All right. So now there's 40 years. They are no longer in captivity. All right. They have been delivered. Keep reading.
And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of Yahweh. And Yahweh strengthened Eglon, the king of Moab.
King of who?
Moab.
Okay.
Against Israel, because they have done evil in the sight of Yahweh. And he gathered up unto him the children of Ammon.
Children of who?
The children of Ammon.
Wait a minute. Yahweh was separating us from these individuals right off the rip. But it's funny, because as you get further down, when it's time for Israel to go back, he said, Moab, let my outcast dwell with you. Wait a minute. What is Yahweh doing? They're going to be wanting some help in this fight after they've been getting pummeled. And then here come the real holy people. Go ahead.
And he gathered unto him the children of Ammon and Amalek, and went and smote Israel, and possessed the city of palm trees. So the children of Israel served Eglon, the king of Moab, 18 years. But when the children of Israel cried unto Yahweh, and Yahweh raised them up, and delivered Ehud, the son of Gera, and a Benjamite, a man left-handed, and by him the children of Israel sent in present unto Eglon, the king of Moab. But Ehud made him a dagger, which had 2 edges of the cubit length, and he did gird it under his raiment upon him his right thigh. And he brought the present unto Elag, king of Moab, and Elag was a very fat man. And when he had made an end to offer the present, he sent away the people that bare the present. But he himself turned again, and from the quarries that were by the Gilgad, and said, I have a secret errand unto thee, O king, who said, keep silence.
All right. So they're going to get delivered. Go to Judges 4. So you understand that this is a never-ending story with the children of Israel. We basically, after we are restored, we walk in the word as long as the individual who restored us is living. And what is that? It's idol worship. We just allow the man to be the idol. When the man disappears, we no longer have a connection to Yahweh, because our connection to Yahweh was directly connected to that man. I watched it when my elder passed. I watched all of these people walk up and down in the word, do all of these things, and I thought we were all the same. And then my elder passed, and I watched some of the most god-awful things take place. It was like Yahweh died when my elder died. All of a sudden, all of these individuals started doing all of these strange things. They started teaching things. I was like, man, where you get that? But their only connection to Yahweh was through my elder. They didn't have any connection of their own. So that was lost. This is, you have to understand, this is a trait of Israel. Instead of us dealing, remember the very first thing we said, don't you talk to us no more. All right? Talk to him. And then let him talk to us. Understand, we're still suffering from that request. We are still suffering this day from that request. I don't want to get that close to you because I'm going to have to change. See, if you come that close to me, it's going to alter me, and I don't want to be altered. I like the way that I am. Okay, so because he keep going by you, and then he like glowing and stuff. I'm not really, glow don't look right on these clothes. All right, I don't want to glow. All right, like he be glowing. That's not like his own. He be glowing. No, I don't want that. Okay, you deal with him. Let him go through all the changes in his life. Because you change people, you like send people off for like 40 years and like go over there. It's like, look, I got plans for like the next 40 years. I'm not like trying to go in the woods, and like learn some stuff from like strange people and then you bring me back. I'm not trying to do that. So do all that with him. We are still suffering from that request. Go ahead, priest.
We're funny people how we chose to have a man in between us and Yahweh. We made that decision, but yet we don't want to take nothing from a man.
Boy, you said something there. And it's so funny. You can tell the people who don't want to, let God be the truth and every man a liar. That this is the thing that they use when they don't want to deal with a man, not understanding the whole foundation. This is how you got a man. You are the one that requested that. It is amazing that that's where we are. But it is what it is. We requested that, but you begin to understand that was idol worship. We just wanted the idol to make us a king like all the other nations. See, yeah, but this king, because first of all, Yahweh has not prepared a king. You just up and ask for one. All right, now if I just go out here and I just pick one, I'm telling you, what he gonna do? He gonna do, yeah, nonetheless, give us a king. Why? Because we want to be like all the other nations. We want to put all the power and strength of our kingdom in a man. That man then becomes the idol. I loved my elder, but he was never an idol to me. If my elder was still alive, I would still be teaching directly under him. I never planned on teaching on my own. I never planned on teaching. So, this idol thing, Israel has a problem with it. And it's a long, deeply rooted problem that we have as a people. And how you curve yourself from getting that is you understand what your problems are. Our problem is we don't want to talk to nobody. We don't want to deal with any of our problems. And we just want to have them magically go away. So this is why, like, some of our people will never go to therapy because they don't want to ever bring those problems out. If you don't bring certain things out, they will sit there and run amok in your life for your entire life. You 100 years old, still dealing with something that happened when you was 8. Why? Because you're scared to pull it out. The only way you're going to deal with that sickness is pull it out. But we don't like to do that. You need to understand that this is part of who we are. So when you understand that, hey, man, my people have had historically a problem with idols. Once you get that, now you know how to check yourself. See, this is what you find out when you go into certain things about therapy. Like, I walk in this door and the lights off. People be like, I like the lights off. I come in, I act a fool every time I come in here. They're like, no, man, we like, it's like atmospheric. I'm going to show y'all the atmosphere. Keep having that light off when I come through here. But see, it was because I didn't go through therapy to find that out. My mom did. I realized that we had the same issue. That being in the dark a lot of times, and if you notice that people who are depressed, they'll wear a lot of dark colors. They'll do a lot of things. You don't really notice that you're doing that. Well, being in the dark has a tendency to make you depressed. So I grew up, my mom never turned off any lights. Now, of course, when you're a kid, that don't mean nothing because you don't ever see the light bill. when I realized that there was a bill attached to the light, you mean there's not a light fairy? You mean to tell me that somebody have to pay for that? So then I'm gonna help my mama out. I'm gonna cut the lights off. But don't do that no anymore. No, I learned in therapy what my triggers were. What? Yeah, triggers is the dog. I don't like that. So the house is lit before she get there. Didn't think that had nothing to do with me. That was nice. You found that out in therapy. But watch how you grow from somebody else's therapy. So now I end up having a situation. My oldest son is acting up in school. I got to go to the school. I take one step in the school. The entire front part is dark. I said, I see why he's having a problem here. I said, this affects his spirit as soon as he steps foot in here. Got him out of that school. When we stepped to the next school, we took one step in. I said, whole front lit up. First of all, the whole front got windows and lights. I said, he gonna do better here. And he did. And I knew both of them by taking one step. I took one step in the dark place. I said, I see why he got to leave out of here. I took one step in the other place. This is where he need to be. And it went exactly with all that thinking. It was one step that answered those questions and both of those things. But that's a part of pulling out some of the things that we have deeply rooted in us. You know how deeply rooted this idol worship thing is with us? First of all, when he calls Abram, father worships idols. The father Abraham, the foundation of our belief came from idol worship. Why do you think it wasn't strange when they said, go over there and sacrifice your son? People say, oh my God, why would God say that? All of them doing it. That was no strange request. So once you know that you have certain things in you, now you can curve yourself from falling victim to it. Because I know I have alcoholics in my family. There are times, well, I might come up and I won't drink nothing at all. And people say, what's wrong with you? Hey, bro, come on, man. I got your favorite drink. Not today, you didn't. My favorite drink is H2O. I ain't drinking nothing today. Why? Because I got to make sure I don't go down the same path. But how do I do that? Because I know now that's what empowers me to be able to deal with that. So the first step is knowing. So you got to pull that out to deal with that. So Israel has a problem. Now you have to deal with how deep Yahweh is. He said alcohol by alcoholic. He knew you had a problem with idols. So he left the idol worshipers and did, hey, live right here next door to my servant. You know what? Why don't you light up your tree? Light it up. Yeah, my servant like lights. Now it's different now. I like the light, but what do I do when the light is on the tree? No. Now you don't make the light an idol. But do you take that and then go and do something else with it? See, Yahweh is very deep. All right. Now, Judges 4, and I want you to start at verse 1. We're just going to read a couple verses, but you need to see that this is a forever problem with Israel. Go ahead.
And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of Yahweh when Ehud was dead. And Yahweh sold them.
Soon as he was dead. So we put the power of Yahweh in a man. Now, the Bible is not just going to say that. You got to use some common sense and notice that they can only follow as long as that man is alive. That means they made that man an idol. Go ahead.
And Yahweh sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, that reigned in Hazar, the captain of whose host was Sisera, which dwelt in Harosheth of the Gentiles. And the children of Israel cried unto Yahweh, for he had 900 chariots of iron. In 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel.
He mightily oppressed the children of Israel. So when Yahweh's angry with us, he put us in captivity. So I'm going to, we have to back up. I remember watching a televangelist, one of those prophet liars, and he was talking about, God ain't angry with you. What's funny, he's talking to a room full of ex-slaves, telling them how God is not angry with them. When God is angry with you, he makes you captive. He's talking to a room full of captives and telling them how God is not angry with them when we have the sign of captivity all over us. But that helps them give him money. Those are the people that we give all our money to, the people who make us feel good. So, excuse me, saying that God is not angry gave us the opportunity, or that individual the opportunity, to make us feel good. And now, boom, here, we're giving more of an offering. Now, the individual that tells us the truth, we get angry with them. We put the kind of money that make noise in the envelope when the person said, you need to change your life. Baby, give me the change from when we bought that Snicker bar. Yeah, put that in that envelope. There you go, priest. It hurt my feelings. Right. That's how we do that. Let's go. It was something else. I want to go Isaiah chapter 16. Now, we've had all of these statements about Moab and Ammon. Now, we have where Yahweh separated Lot from Abram, from his promise, period. Okay? So he separated us. He separated, we've had these problems with Moab and Ammon. Now these individuals who call themselves the Palestinians. All right? Now, Isaiah chapter 16, and start that at verse 1.
Send ye the lamb to the ruler of the land, from Scylla to the wilderness, unto the mount of the daughter of Zion. For it shall be that as a wandering bird cast out of the nest, so that the daughters of Moab shall be at the fords of Arnon. Take counsel, execute judgment, make thy shadow as the night in the mist of the noonday. Hide the outcasts, beret not him that wandereth.
Now, who the outcasts? Who these outcasts? Outcasts. Big boy in the Andre 3000. No. It's some bigger outcasts around here. Go ahead.
Let mine outcast dwell with thee, Moab.
Wait a minute. Now, what outcast individuals who may be coming into the land, and Yahweh says, let them dwell with them. So when I hear people saying, hey, let's go here and let's go to Israel, I'm like, well, I don't think you understand what we're saying. Let my outcast dwell with you. Let me tell you something. After people have been getting pummeled, let me tell you, other people might not let the outcast in, but I tell you who will. You mean to tell me we're gonna get some help in this fight? Oh yeah, it's time to add some holiness to this fight now. See, you've been fighting with rocks and sticks, but see, we're gonna take that same rock and that same stick. It's gonna do way more for us than it did for you. Go ahead.
Moab, be thou covert to them for the face of the spoiler, for the extortioner is at an end.
Who's the extortioner that Moab has a problem with? But then Yahweh says, let my outcast dwell with you. So that means the two parties who we see on TV are not the outcasts that he's talking about. Very, very interesting. Go ahead.
The spoiler ceaseth, the oppressor are consumed out of the land. In mercy shall the throne be established. And he shall sit upon it in truth in the tabernacle of Dawid, judging and seeking judgment, and hasting righteousness.
Now, judging and seeking judgment. See, that means a whole lot of things that are going on are going to have to stop. A whole lot of things that are taking place are not going to be able to go on any longer. Go ahead.
We have heard of the pride of Moab. He is very proud,
Uh-huh.
even of his haughtiness, and his pride and his wrath. But his lies shall not be so.
Uh-huh. So Yahweh said, wait a minute. He first says you've magnified yourself against the border. You helped. You know what I'm saying? You saw that my people, were removed out of this land, and you helped yourself. Now somebody is stealing what you stole from you. That's the one people who don't show up at the police department. That's the one thing you say, excuse me, can I talk to your highness, your honor, your majesty, your truthfulness? Look here. I got robbed. The robbing crew came in. It was a bunch of people, man. They came in, they robbed me. What they took? They took my dope. That's the one dude that don't show up at the court. When a brother get robbed of something that he wasn't supposed to have, he can't go to the authorities, right? You cannot go to the police and say, I know exactly who robbed me. I had 2 kilos of cocaine. And Man them took it. Now, they might go get Man and then come back and get you. You cannot call the authorities for something that you wasn't supposed to have. So you can't say, I stole it and then they stole it from me. Go ahead.
Therefore shall Moab howl for Moab. Everyone shall howl. For the foundation of Kirasheth shall ye mourn. Surely they are stricken. For the field of Heshbon languish, and the vine of Shibam. The masters of the heathen have broken down the principal plants thereof. They are come even unto Yazar. They wandered through the wilderness. Her branches are stretched out. They are gone over the sea. Therefore I will bewail with the weeping of Yazar.
All right. Jump to verse 12.
And it shall come to pass, when it is seen that Moab is weary of the high place, that he shall come to his sanctuary to pray, but he shall not prevail. This is the word that Yahweh hath spoken concerning Moab since that time. But with Yahweh hath spoken. But now Yahweh hath spoken, saying, within 3 years, as the years of the hireling, and the glory of Moab shall be contemned with all that great multitude, and the remnant shall be very small and feeble.
All right. There's some other things that I want to go into, but we're going to go ahead and stop there. And we'll have to get into that, because once I get into that, it's going to lead me into some other things. So we're going to go ahead and stop there. But I wanted to, just add a little bit more of some background, because if you are just listening to CNN, you are so lopsided in your view. And then you turn on Fox. This is the only time that there's some kind of agreement between the Democrats and the Republicans. And what's funny is still they're going to find a way to disagree on the thing that they agree about. Because now, even though they say they have blind support of Israel, and then they disagree on how he supports Israel. So they have to have some kind of argument, but you go on over to Al Jazeera. Look at WION. You look at this on the internet. WION. Look up those things. All of a sudden, now you're going to get a different view, and you're going to start seeing some different things. So only part of that story is being told to us, so that we will all have the same view. This way we can educate ourselves and understand that Yahweh's stirring this pot. All right. There are a few more ingredients that have to be added before the dinner is ready. But do understand that the pot's getting warm. That's all that we're going to do for tonight. Let's leave out with the prayer. We're going to rise and face the east. All males, remove your head covering. And females always pray with their head covered. Abba Father, Most High Covenant Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. Abba Father, we thank you. We thank you for giving us an opportunity to read out of this legacy. Abba Father, we thank you for preserving this legacy. For we walked so strongly against you that we were not even able to preserve our own legacy. We were not able to preserve our own heritage, the ways that you have given unto us that you commanded for us to keep. Abba Father, we were not able to preserve them because we walked so strongly against you. We acknowledge our sins that we have committed against you, Abba Father. And we pray that you would have mercy upon us for the sins that we have committed. We pray, Abba Father, that you would allow us to grow in knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, that we may be seen as the people who have love for Yahweh, our Elohim, that we may be seen as the individuals who walk in the light that you have shed upon us. We pray, Abba Father, that you would keep a hedge of protection round about us, that you would protect us in our goings and our comings. We pray, Abba Father, that you would preserve this little sanctuary, this little place that we have whereby we gather together to keep your Sabbath, your new moons, your holy Sabbaths, the things that are pleasing unto you. We pray, Abba Father, that you would take away this heart of stone, that we may have a heart of flesh, that we may be able to follow the things that you reveal unto us as we read out of this legacy from day to day, from Sabbath to Sabbath, from new moon to new moon. We pray, Abba Father, that you would preserve us physically, that we may be able to join again on the Sabbath and do this all over again. In Yahshua HaMashiach's holy and divine name we pray. Amen and hallelujah.